Let's look at the last 15 years. All right. Nick Saban. Ever heard of him?
Ever
Coach
heard
O.
of him?
Yeah. I don't know. Was Joe Burrow good? He left Ohio
Was it?
State and became an instant classic down there at LSU. So who's to say?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Graveyard Shift, where we break down the biggest news in men's and women's sports in an easy-to-digest way so that you can impress your coworkers, right, Josh?
Absolutely.
We are your hosts, Josh and Missy Graves, and we have got kind of a big one today. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I mean, is March Madness big? I don't know.
Just a little bit, I think. Just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
So that's going to be our big topic for today. We're also going to talk a little bit about LeBron at the Lakers. Going to go into what's going on in free agency in the NFL right now this past week. And then we're going to round it out with some women's sports news. Got to make sure the ladies are getting some love. And then we've got one spicy snack for you at the end. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good. Well, with that, we're going to get into our first segment, our Midnight Snacks. This is our men's sports news segment. So first and foremost, most importantly, the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It is Selection Sunday, and everything, was just announced, all the standings for the first round of the tournament. Do we have any initial thoughts? I guess we should
Initial
start
thoughts. I think Tennessee is going to win it all. Absolutely no
Of
bias
course.
there with that
No.
statement. SEC getting 14 teams in. Nuts.
Absolutely insane.
We can go
Absolutely
a little
insane.
bit more into that. I'll be interested to see if Duke is as good as they've been hyped up to be all year, because everyone's talking about how there's the one seeds and then there's Duke, and they're on their own level of playing. So I'm interested to see, can they back it up when they do, start playing some stiffer competition.
Mm-hmm.
No offense to North Carolina, but
no offense to North Carolina. Interesting. I'm interested to see how their bracket journey goes. Of course, all the one seeds have the to be determined.
Yeah, you got to do the final play-ins the day before to figure out who gets
just the South and the East, because you know who Florida and Houston are playing, but just the South and the East regions. Duke and Auburn, we don't know who they're playing yet, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I guess the first thing we had written down for the NCAA tournament, if I could talk, is actually the Cooper Flag news. You want to go into that a little bit first?
Yeah, so he first game of the ACC tournament, ACC championship.
Mm-hmm.
Well, conference
championship. Yeah,
you get it. Like from the first
game before this.
Yeah, the first thing that Duke played in, he went up, got a rebound, came down weird, and just rolled his ankle. So he left the game. He did not come back. He did not play anything else in the ACC tournament. So it'll be interesting to see. They're saying he'll be good to go for next week when they play in March Madness.
Okay.
But at the same time, toss up, right? You don't know. I mean, LeBron said that he would only be out for a couple days, and here we are. Here we are.
Yeah, that's true. We don't get ahead of yourself. We're talking about LeBron.
Yeah. Sorry, spoilers. Talking about LeBron later.
But either way, it seems like they played well without him.
Yeah, no, they
of course he's
really
important,
well.
but it doesn't. I don't know if it's detrimental to the team at this point.
Yeah. He's really good at rebounds, and he's really good at scoring. So he's a solid player.
The two biggest things in basketball, a little bit.
Yeah, so. I guess you could say that.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of important.
Okay. Well, that'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. I guess the only conference championship, and talking about the conference championships, those just finished, obviously. The only one that we actively paid attention to was, of course, the SEC championship today. We played against Florida, so that happened.
Hate Florida. Can't stand them. Cannot stand them.
Yeah. It wasn't. Here's the thing: we didn't necessarily play bad. They just played really good, and we got in foul trouble real bad, real early.
Yeah.
And I think that's my analysis of the game.
Yeah, when I was looking at the stats throughout the game, it wasn't that they had hit more threes than us. Like, we had both hit 6. They had taken 1 more than us. So they were 6 for 20. We were 6 for 19 at that point when I was looking at it. The main difference was just one, we had fouled them more on shooting. So they had more penalty shots, and they were also...
Penalty shots?
Yeah,
soccer? Free throws?
Yeah, we were pulling red cards on our side. No, but
moving on.
they just had more shots on goal than us. And at the end of the day, that's gonna win you more games. Can't play enough defense to counteract that. But their free throw percentage was also better than ours. So you gotta hit your shots.
Yeah. It's okay. It's fine. It honestly, like, yeah, you want to win that, but maybe it people are saying, like, maybe it's better for where we're ending up in the bracket of it all.
That's what I was going to say. Hot take. I think it's good that we lost. And the reason I say that is because it gives us, and maybe this is just me trying to cope with the loss. Okay.
Trying to make yourself feel better.
Let me have my delusions. I like our path that we have in March Madness. I like where we're slotted in the bracket at 2 seed. Blotted. And then second, when they announced that where we were at in the bracket and they showed Tennessee team, none of those guys looked excited. Ziegler looked just so pissed off.
He was big mad.
Yeah, he was big mad. He was pissed. Yeah. And so I think that, this just gave them the biggest chip on the shoulder, right? Like, stack the chips. We lost to Ole Miss and we got knocked down to 8th. And that basically solidified the fact that we're not getting a 1 seed even if we won the SEC tournament. Yep. Okay. Second, we're still hot because we still beat Auburn yesterday. They're a 1 seed,
I'm more proud of that win than I am upset about this loss, to be honest.
Think about this. There's 4 1 seeds in the tournament, right?
Yeah.
We played 2 of them to try and win the tournament that we just did for the SEC.
Big facts, and we beat one of them and had to play the other one the next day.
Yes. So when you think about that, Tennessee, I think we're going to have a great year. There's also, rumors that Rick Barnes might retire. And what better send-off than with Ziegler at the helm, all 5'7" of them just charging through.
Is he 5'7"?
He's like 5'7", 5'8". Yeah.
I'm gonna search this before we hurt this man's feelings for no reason. Oh, wait, 5'9". You're so mean. He's 5'9", not 5'7". I knew that wasn't right. I was like, I know he's taller than me. He looks tiny out there though compared to everyone else. He's not...
when you're 5'9" and you're standing next to Cade Phillips and Milicic, it's just
how tall is Cade Phillips? 6'10", I think.
Yeah, 6'9", 6'11", somewhere between there. How about Florida though, having a freshman that's 7'9"? That is absurd.
That's ridiculous. They showed him cutting the thing. He didn't even get on the ladder, right?
Yeah, he didn't need it. His arms weren't even fully extended.
No. Cade Phillips is 6'9". So you're telling me no.
Yeah, Florida's got a freshman that's a whole foot taller than him.
That's insane. Anyway.
You're not trying to walk through your house. Like, you're ducking through every single doorway. That's terrible.
You don't fit in any shower or like...
Yeah, that's a good point.
You're not even fitting into it like an Alaskan... What is it? Alaskan king? What is it?
Listen, all I can think about... I'm just thinking
California
about...
king, not Alaska king. Oh my gosh. California king. What bed are you sleeping in at that height?
Listen, when they're on a plane, right, and he's got to take a dump or something, how is he fitting in the bathroom?
I don't think he's going to the bathroom on planes. I don't.
These are questions I need answers to.
Anyway, what are we talking about? Cade Phillips is 6'9". How tall is Milicic? Why are we talking about height?
Because we were talking about Ziegler.
Oh, Ziegler being
and
short.
his height.
And yeah, Milicic is a 6'10". And then that one guy in Florida is a whole foot taller than that.
Yeah. That's insane.
So anyway, the point of this story is that Ziegler is 5'9", not 5'7", Joshua. Get it right.
I would
Back
like to
our
apologize
regularly scheduled programming.
to Ziegler. You are my hero. Like, honestly, he's awesome.
He really is awesome.
He's awesome.
It's pretty badass that he does all that against these guys that are way bigger than him.
Yeah, he
cool.
scored on Broom yesterday, who's also like 6'11" or something for Auburn.
He's tall. He's tall in here.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
You know what? NBA teams, give him a shot. He'll be the next Allen Iverson.
Honestly, I would. Yeah.
Should go buy an NBA team.
So back to what you said about us beating the two of the 4 number 1 seeds. So 2 of the 4 number 1 seeds just happen to be coming from the SEC, is what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
How many? What about the 2 seeds? Alabama is also a 2 seed. State. 2 of the 2 seeds are from the SEC. So that's interesting.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is 14 of the 16 teams for the SEC made it. So, I mean, is that good? I don't know. Is it?
That's all we'll say on that.
Yeah,
we're gonna make people mad if we keep going down this route.
Listen, I'll hand up. SEC is the best conference across all sports. Don't at me.
You're gonna start some fights.
I feel confident. Okay. Listen, last couple of years in football, sure, maybe we didn't win those, but also, you know what? Let's look at the last 15 years. All right. Nick Saban. Ever heard of him?
Heard of him?
Yeah. I don't know. Was Joe Burrow good? He left Ohio State and became an instant classic down there at LSU. So, who's to say? Who's to say? Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, where'd they go to school? SEC. AJ Brown, where'd he go to school? Yeah.
Okay, SEC.
Yeah. Jalen Hurts.
I don't remember. There's too many people.
Tua Tagovailoa.
SEC. Yeah.
SEC.
Yeah.
Well, I guess like Jalen Hurts, he did transfer after he lost the starting position and went to Oklahoma, which at the time was not SEC, but now SEC.
Now SEC.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, speaking of SEC, I was also very excited to see that Vandy is in there as a 10 seed. They're playing St. Mary's first. So I don't know who St. Mary's is, to be honest. I've never heard of this team, but
what Reese Davis was saying, because I don't know a lot about St. Mary's either, but what he was saying was that it wasn't a favorable draw for how St. Mary's plays and how Vandy plays. What I hate for Vanderbilt too is that they run into Alabama more than likely in the second round.
Oh, true. Unless
Robert Morris
team
pulls off the upset
magically beats Alabama.
We're talking about how we haven't really heard a lot about St. Mary's this year. I have
really
never heard of Robert Morris. So, but you know what? Every year there's some Cinderella team that makes a run.
True.
Maybe it's Robert Morris. Maybe it is.
I hope it's them.
I hope it's Vandy, personally.
Well, I think Vandy always has the potential. Like we talked about, was it last week maybe?
Yeah, I mean, they beat
Vandy
Tennessee
just be
earlier
doing
this year
things
by
sometimes.
1, so.
Yeah. So I have the fullest confidence that they can do it. Will they do it? We will see. Can they do it? Yes. Yeah. So
there's multiple teams in the SEC this year that, like, on paper, like, you look at their records and they're not as impressive of records. But then you look at, like, if you actually watch the games and how they played in those, prime example, Georgia, right? Georgia's record this year was bad, especially in SEC play. It was bad. But if you watch the games, Georgia plays hard and plays the other team close until the final minutes when you get into fouls, and then you just got to start fouling out to try and keep the game going. And so then the score spreads apart. But you watch the whole game, Georgia played really well. So I think one, that speaks to the SEC's depth, but two, that's to say that Vanderbilt, on paper, like they're a 10 seed. That's not the best of the best, right? But I think they're a solid contender that can make a run if they. I mean, we were talking before the show. You just got to get hot, right? And that's basketball.
Yeah.
So who's got the hot hand?
I have the fullest confidence in Vandy. I do want to talk really quick about have we mentioned the Tennessee's path in the tournament? What that's look like?
A little bit.
So we play Wofford first, and then we will play the winner of UCLA, Utah State, which I would guess it would be UCLA. But then we play the winner of Illinois, and to be determined, versus Kentucky and Troy. So I'm just going to assume that's Illinois and Kentucky. I bet we'll end up playing Kentucky there, and we beat. Well, I don't know. I said we beat Kentucky early in the season. Kentucky is not a bad team, though. Obviously, they're a 3 seed.
Yeah, no, they're a good team.
Yeah, so I don't know. But then people are saying that this is a better spot in the tournament than if we had won the game today. But how much would it have really changed, do you think? Because we still would have been a 2 seed because of the loss to Ole Miss earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how much would have actually changed. Because we wouldn't have been a 1 seed, which would be the main thing.
Yeah, that one I'm not sure. Also, I'm looking at this right now. Illinois will play the winner of Texas versus Xavier. And that'll be interesting because Texas has a guy named Trey Johnson who is, when he's hot, he is hot.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see.
Well, what day is that game?
That'll be, today's Sunday.
Either the 18th or the 19th.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Tuesday, Wednesday are those games.
19th. The 19th.
Yeah, that'll feed into the first game, which is the 20th, which will be Thursday. So.
Okay. Well, I'm excited. This will be fun. We need to do our brackets still. We need to do men's and women's brackets first of all, and we also need to determine what either is the winner going to get something or is the loser going to have to do something. We need to figure that out.
Yeah, we'll figure that one out.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, we had one more thing to talk about here with the NCAA tournament. Do you want to go into the 2 coaches from?
Yeah. So down in the West section of the bracket, you have Rick Pitino's coached St. John's team. And you have Coach Cal's coached Arkansas team. And what's crazy about that is that they were both prolific coaches at other programs. So one, they both coached at Kentucky. Coach Cal won a national championship for Kentucky back in 2012 while he was the coach there. They mutually split ways after last year. I don't know how mutual it was because he had a vendetta whenever they played each other earlier this year. And Arkansas went into Kentucky and beat them on their own court. So that was crazy. Same thing on St. John's side with Rick Pitino. He was a former Kentucky coach, and then he went to Louisville, where he spent like 17 seasons or something like that. He kind of got run out of town because they did win a national championship there, but that was taken away from him because he was potentially bribing players. So that did not go well. But now he is at St. John's and he has fired those boys up. So they are a 2 seed. Now for this to happen, Coach Cal's Arkansas team, which this kind of goes back to that same conversation that we just had about Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Arkansas is, like, you watch their games, they're a solid team. Just on paper, they haven't been as good as the other teams in the SEC, but I think that just speaks to how deep the SEC is this year. But anyways, they have to beat a Kansas team, which it's Kansas and it's basketball. So you just kind of have to assume that they're going to be good.
Yeah. Okay.
It was an air quote off year for Kansas this year, but still
an off year. They're a 7 seed.
Still Kansas.
It's a really, really bad year. Well, that'll be interesting. There'll be a little bit of spicy drama if they end up playing each other.
Mm-hmm.
Well, cool. I'm excited. Do we have anything else to talk about here?
No, I think that covers
the
it.
tournament. Okay, cool. Well, on to our next little snack. This is going to be a little small one. I don't know if we have too much to say here. We just wanted to kind of mention it because I feel like it's a big deal right now for the Lakers, especially after they just get Luka. They're on this big high note, and now LeBron is having, he got injured against the Celtics on March 8th. A groin injury. I think he was like under the basket doing some pivots, and then just the next play he like had to come out.
Yeah. I think he planted the leg, did like 3 pivots on it, and then just was like he honestly he stayed in the game for like 2 more progressions, and then he came out after that.
Yeah.
I guess he thought maybe it was just like a temporary thing that he could play through, and then it could tell it wasn't going to go away. But I mean, LeBron's kind of got that like Wolverine blood in him, where he just
to be as old as he is and still playing like he does.
Yeah,
you got to.
So, and he's, I mean, in order to play for this long at this level, he's putting a ton of money into his body so that he can continue going. He's so in touch with it. He knows exactly like what to do to get back on the court, and I'm sure for how competitive he is, he hates seeing the fact that they've lost every game since he got injured. He's going to try and come back as quick as possible. They won today. They did win today.
Yeah.
They did win today.
It's just tough because him and Luka together, they were just, we don't watch the NBA, like we're just getting into the NBA, but watching him and Luka together was like, we actually thoroughly enjoyed watching that. And so it's like they're coming off of that high note from Luka just joining the team, and then he gets injured, and it's taken a little bit to get him back in. But hopefully he'll get back soon because, like you said, they've lost every game other than today against the Suns.
You know what, though? Still going better than it is for the Dallas Mavericks right now. Other side of that trade. AD goes down first game. Kyrie's out for the season. I mean, that is unfortunate.
Yeah. But they did that to themselves.
They did, yeah.
That's a whole other story. So, anyway, just wanted to mention that. Anything else to say there?
No.
Get well soon, LeBron.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay, next up. Free agency. I just have a list of things that we can kind of talk about a little bit about. That's going on in the NFL free agency situation right now. And the first one is really honestly like some news for the girlies that the girlies are probably going to want to pay attention to because how do you say his name?
Kyle Juszczyk.
That guy. Kyle Juszczyk. I can never pronounce it. And it's the way it's spelled is I can't even. Anyway.
Yeah, they kind of like
Juszczyk.
Close their eyes, smack the keyboard, and that's how they came up with the last name.
I just need the thing on
respectfully.
Respectfully, of course. The on Google or whatever you go in, like how pronunciation of this name. Like I just need that for some of these names that we have.
Click the little audio symbol so that you can hear
it. Anyway, Kyle Juszczyk, he got released from the 49ers, which is tough. First of all, he's been there for I think like 8 years or something like that, right? 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, he's been there for a while.
And he's one of the more experienced players, right? Like that wasn't his first team for sure.
No, he's a glue guy for sure. Like you look at his relationship with George Kittle, they're boys. So it's kind of crazy to see them move on from him. It makes sense with his contract, but
so you think that you think the move makes sense for them to do that?
Yeah, they've got a clear space.
Explain why?
So kind of talked about it before, but like with contracts, Kyle Juszczyk, he's had some injuries. He hasn't played his best ball, and I think he's due a substantial sum of money this year if he was to stay on the team. So they cut him because of that to clear space because the 49ers are going to have to pay Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy deserves a decent amount of money for taking them as far as he has in the playoffs like 2 years ago. And that guy's making $900K a year, which, hey, for a normal person, is a ton of money.
So much money. But for an NFL quarterback?
Yes, but when you skipping down a little bit, but when you see Josh Allen just signed a 6-year deal for $330 million,
yeah,
55 a year versus $900K a year, little bit different.
Crazy. So okay, that makes sense. That adds color to why they would do this.
That's also why they had to let go of Deebo Samuel, because he was going to be due for a new contract, and they were able to add all of these pieces of high-end, top caliber players on the 49ers, but they were able to do that because of Brock Purdy's salary. But now that Brock Purdy's coming due for money, which they could maybe extend it one more year, but they've got to set themselves up for it in the long run. They can't keep doing that and paying everybody. So you've got players like Brandon Ayuk. They had Deebo Samuel. You got Christian McCaffrey at running back. You've got George Kittle. They've got all these top tier talent guys that they've got to pay. And that's not even talking about the defense when you got Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. They got a lot of guys, which is crazy why they were bad this year, but also Christian McCaffrey was out for basically the whole year.
Yeah.
So.
But anyway, that's all. It's tough, but the girlies probably are going to be interested in this because his wife, Kristen, is the one who makes all the outfits that you're seeing, like Taylor Swift, Brittany Mahomes wear, right? The custom, the jackets especially are her big thing. But did you see that?
Yeah, I don't know what just happened.
What was that? Anyway, I'm going to start that sentence over. Kyle's wife, Kristen, is the girlie who makes all the clothes that you're seeing, all the big names are like Brittany Mahomes, Taylor Swift, wore one of her jackets, Simone Biles, the custom, Taylor Lautner had a jacket randomly too. Him. Yeah, her jackets are the big thing, but it sounds like she's going to be doing a lot more than that. I think she was on a podcast I was listening to recently. I think it was Kylie Kelsey's podcast, saying that she was going to release a bunch of stuff and start announcing it soon. And so I'm wondering, because obviously the 49ers are going to be in the first iteration of whatever it is that she releases, along with some other teams. So I don't know. I just wonder how this is going to affect the future releases that she does. Is she going to keep the 49ers up in there, or is she going to move the 49ers out for another team after this? So I'm just interested in how
good question.
Her business strategy reacts to this. Also, would love to have one of her jackets. But, maybe one day I'll get there.
Maybe one day.
Anyway, next, you already talked about Brock Purdy. So let's Russell Wilson. You mentioned he's going through interviews with different teams.
Yeah, interviewed with the Browns, which I think makes sense. And then interviewed with the Jets, and I think he's interviewing with the Giants as well. So similar placings as Aaron Rodgers potentially.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that I don't think Russell Wilson will be going back to the Steelers. And the reason I say that is because Steelers are basically waiting to hear what Aaron Rodgers wants to do, which, one, he never said that he was going to be announcing that anytime soon. He has to make a huge decision in his career.
What is his deadline to make this decision?
It doesn't really have one,
No?
he can wait because he hasn't. One, the longer you wait, more teams are going to fill their spots, so maybe you miss out on a spot like that, but also it's Aaron Rodgers, and I think he'll have time. So Steelers basically waiting on that. But there's no way that Russell Wilson can go back to the Steelers when, one, they're waiting on Aaron Rodgers. So they openly don't want to re-sign you, Russell.
Yeah.
But then
they're only going to consider it if Aaron Rodgers says no.
Yeah. They just brought back a guy in Mason Rudolph that they had run off prior, beforehand, to where he was the backup on the Titans. And now he's back on the Steelers, and there was a poll put out last week of who do you want your starting QB to be? And it was a list of Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Mason Rudolph. And 60% of that poll, the Steelers fans said Mason Rudolph as their starter, which is crazy. So,
wow.
So, I mean, you're Russell Wilson, you're looking at that. I don't think you're going back to the Steelers. I think the Browns make sense, and that's because they can afford a cheaper contract with Russell Wilson, and that's basically all they can afford at this point in time. And also, if he can go there and turn that program around from the dumpster fire that they're in right now with the Deshaun Watson contract, be prolific. It'd be crazy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, so let's skip ahead to Aaron Rodgers. So I didn't realize I had seen like the video of him like on the beach in the blanket, like staring at the moon or whatever. Like, and I thought like people were joking. People were talking about him retiring. I thought it was a joke, but I guess he's actually considering it. It sounds like considering retiring.
Maybe. I mean, think about it. He's in his 40s. You know, he's won a Super Bowl. He was back-to-back MVP. Back during COVID, which is hilarious because of the whole COVID controversy with him.
No comment.
Yeah, no comment on that. But yeah, so I mean, he's done a lot. And if your options are either to like, given Giants are still on the board, but if the options are him moving to a completely new city that he's never been to before, having to uproot, you know, literally pack every box, move it all there from where he's at currently, or just retire and move to California full time, which is where he was at in that picture. You know, it's hard to say. I personally, I think he's still going to play because same with like LeBron and every top caliber athlete, they're so competitive. And you look at how he played at the end of last year, and you know that that's what's possible still for him in his 40s. I think he'll keep playing because he's not going to go out on the bad note of like being released by the Jets.
Yeah.
Having his Achilles torn on the 4th play and then one other season to basically prove himself. So I think he'll come back. He'll play for a team.
Probably not the Titans though.
We'll see. Time will tell. I'm still holding faith.
There's still hope.
He still owns raw land in Franklin. Okay.
I mean, how do we know? Are we keeping tabs on this land?
Yeah, I drive by it every day.
Oh, you do? That's a pretty long drive from here.
I don't know.
Well, we will see. Another interesting development was, so you mentioned before, Josh Allen's, what was it? Millions and millions of dollars.
330 million, 6 years.
Over 6 years. And people were talking about like how he could have gotten more money and like, you know, chased the highest paid quarterback, whatever. And he was straight up like, he didn't want more money. Like he doesn't, what did he say? What's $5 more million gonna do? Like gonna give me that I don't already have.
Yeah.
And that's just so refreshing because we talk all the time about like how much money is enough money. Like, yes, these football players, like they're immensely talented, like, and they deserve, you know, this money is like changing not just their lives, but their families' lives. And like, that's amazing for them. But also at the same time, like how much money is enough money, you know? And so it's just really cool to see someone saying that and like telling them to put that money toward the team, like building up the rest of the team rather than just like giving it to him. So
yeah,
I think that's awesome.
It's kind of what you've seen with Patrick Mahomes and then prior to that, Tom Brady, what they did. Like Tom Brady always took a hometown discount so that they could sign other players like Randy Moss and Rob Gronkowski and Julian Edelman, all the guys that helped them get to the dominance that they sustained for 20 years. You know, like you don't do that with just chasing the bag. Then on the like newer side of things, you've got Patrick Mahomes who signed a 10-year, $500 million contract, $50 million a year. He could have pushed it as well, but he chose not to because he would rather have that money go in. Now, what I find interesting is that the Eagles are able to pay Jalen Hurts top dollar and A.J. Brown top dollar and now Saquon Barkley top dollar. So they've got a ton of money in that offense. And they do a lot of like salary cap gymnastics where they, you know, just set up contracts in a certain way so that they still get paid the same amount, but they only have to report a certain number against their salary cap.
Interesting.
So I'm curious of like how they're doing that. But yeah, so there's both sides of the coin, but it's nice to see when quarterbacks take the hometown discount so that they can actually fill a roster.
Yeah, I love that. Do it for the team. So nice. Okay, we had one more thing to talk about with free agency. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, D-Hop on the Ravens now.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got 2 former Titans now over on the Ravens team. Just kind of feels pretty consistent that we
disrespectful. Yeah.
You watch these guys leave and then they just continue to be dominant on other teams. We already watched it with AJ Brown. Now we had to watch it with Derrick Henry, and next season will be. I mean, we already traded D-Hop away in the middle of this season, but now
D-Hop
he'll be
DeAndre Hopkins. I feel like we need to say his name at least once so that newer. D-Hop is DeAndre Hopkins.
6 XL hands. He's got massive hands. He has to get he's got to get specially made gloves for the games because they don't make them big enough.
Like what?
They're huge.
I'm just trying to picture.
Yeah, he's got massive mitts.
Mitts. He's got massive mitts.
Yeah. But yeah, so D-Hop is on the Ravens now with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. I mean, the Ravens just continue to stack players, kind of like what we were talking about with the other top teams. So it'll be interesting to see what they can get going up there.
Yeah.
Titans we've historically had a huge rivalry with the Ravens, especially when Mike Vrabel was the head coach at the Titans, nearly fought Harbaugh at the middle of the field. Okay. But that's kind of died off since the Titans suck now. And I kind of hope the Ravens get it done,
Yeah. You're becoming a bandwagon fan for the Ravens.
Derrick Henry deserves a Super Bowl. That's all I'm going to say.
You have a note. Go. What?
He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and I feel like the only thing that's standing in his way right now is not having Super Bowl.
Yeah. You have a note on here that the 3 of them are old friends.
Yeah, so there was a picture posted of them a couple of years back of it was like them 3 at a banquet or something like that, and D-Hop had made the comment about like how many touchdowns can this trio score, and so now here we'll find out.
We'll see now that they're all on the same team.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. Okay, well I guess we're becoming Ravens fans this season, since I guess to be determined. We'll see what happens.
I'll be a Ravens fan and a Titans fan. You'll be a Chiefs fan. I know where
you're making me sound like a Swiftie.
I know where your fandom lies.
No comment.
It's okay. Well,
I didn't mean for this to happen. It just kind of did.
Listen, if I was really getting into the NFL, I would not choose the Titans. Okay, you can look at that, and I'd be like, absolutely not. I'm going to another team.
You know what? Okay, I guess maybe I will finally come out and say that I like the Chiefs, because if I was saying it before, like a couple months ago, people would just call me a bandwagon fan because they had won the past 2. But now they lost the last Super Bowl.
We'll let it slide. We'll let it slide.
I didn't mean for this to happen. It just kind of did. Okay, I've been influenced by my Instagram algorithm, okay? It's not my fault.
It's fine.
I feel like I'm being attacked. All right, we're going to introduce a new segment here called Girl Dinner, and this is all about women's sports, the big things that are going on recently. And of course, right now it is the basketball tournament. So I'm just going to, because it's only, the bracket isn't actually, or the tournament. Yeah, the women's NCAA, what am I trying to say? The women's NCAA tournament bracket is not out yet because it's Sunday night. We had to record early before the bracket came out. So that's not out yet. We're not going to talk about that. I'm going to just kind of do a debrief of the conference championships. And I have the scores and stuff pulled up too, so we can talk a little bit about that. And so we'll do that today. So first up, UCLA won. They beat USC in their conference, the Big Ten tournament, 72-67. UCLA won that one. And so the big news story out of that, even though USC lost, is Juju Watkins, because she is kind of a badass. She's only a sophomore, but she is like single-handedly changing that team. I mean, if you have LeBron James talking about you in interviews, I feel like you're doing pretty well, especially if you're just a sophomore.
Yeah, probably a good sign.
Props to Juju. That's awesome. What a badass. So for anybody who doesn't know, Juju Watkins, she's a sophomore, like I said. She is at USC. She is from that town, right? So she is like a hometown girl, and I think that's the reason that she chose to go to USC. And the reason that's important is because USC was not doing too hot before she got there. They had missed every NCAA tournament completely from 2015 to 2022. And they went 3 whole decades without appearing in the Sweet 16 at all. But I don't think they expected this. The year that she got there, last year, as a freshman, they went to the Elite Eight, which is insane to have that kind of impact as a freshman.
Is that good?
So, who knows? But I don't know. I was wondering, like, why aren't they talking about her, like, going to the WNBA? Like, that's pretty badass. But I didn't realize she can't go until she's 22. So for the WNBA, you have to be 22 to play. So she's going to be there, I guess, all 4 seasons, it seems like, which is very good for USC. But yeah, Juju Watkins, we need to keep an eye on her because she also has the most fun. I love her bun.
Yeah.
Top of her head. Yeah. It's nice. I don't know. It's wholesome. I like it. Yeah, so what do you think? Juju Watkins.
Yeah. No, I mean, if LeBron's giving you props,
you've got to be doing something right if LeBron is talking about you. Yeah.
Gotta be crazy in the paint.
Crazy in the paint. Yeah. So that's exciting. We're keeping an eye on her during the tournament. UConn absolutely dominated Villanova. 82-54. That is the Big East tournament.
You know what I find interesting is how, like, these schools are good at basketball. Like, just, it's like the whole school came together and they were like, all right, listen, we're going to be good on both men's and women's side at basketball specifically.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. At one point, UConn football was okay, but they are not good in the last few years. But you look at their basketball teams, and they're just so good on both sides.
Dominant.
So it's just interesting to see. And then, like, Duke, so part of the bracket has come out for the women's side. Duke is a 2 seed. Well, we just talked about. Came out? Yeah, part of the bracket came out. You've got it pulled
up. Okay.
So, I mean, you talk about Duke, same thing. Like, they're supposed to be, I mean, they're a 1 seed and the other one, we talked about them being like, you know, just on their own caliber according to the ESPN analysts and stuff.
Yeah.
But then they're a 2 seed in the women's side of things. It's like, insane. It's crazy how schools are just like, they are known as the basketball schools. That.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you looked at the bracket. So UCLA is a 1 seed. For that, which makes me think, well, I don't know, USC could still be a 2 seed in one of the other regions.
We're still waiting for the rest to come out.
Still waiting for the bottom 2. Yeah.
Shout out Lady Vols. They are a 5th seed.
Ooh, that's good. Are we out? Who are we playing? I don't see that yet.
South Florida.
Where do you see that?
Down underneath Birmingham.
Well, I don't know. Are you ahead of me? Oh, the 3rd bracket's coming out right now as I'm watching it. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Okay, you're ahead of me. Okay, so Tennessee, is a 5 seed playing South Florida first.
Yeah.
So that I don't know anything about South Florida. Okay, well, I guess the timing on our recording is kind of perfect since it's coming out as we're talking about it. That worked out.
All I know about South Florida is that their football team's social media tried trolling Miami going into their game last year, and Miami just
showed them what's up.
I think they beat them by 40 or something like that. Like it wasn't close.
Tough. That is tough. Oh my gosh. Well, I bet UConn's going to be the 4th 1 seed because I see Texas is the 1 seed there. So I bet it's going to be UConn. I bet USC will be a 2 seed, but I guess we'll probably see here in a few minutes.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Anyway, yeah, UConn just absolutely dominated over Villanova. What was the points? It was
like 28.
Almost a 30-point lead. Yeah, 82 to 54. So that is just insane. And so the big story that came out of that is, of course, Paige Bueckers. She is a senior this year. She's a fifth-year senior because she's from the COVID class. She won the most outstanding player in Big East tournament. And what's important about that is that she is the first lady to win that 3 times. Isn't that awesome? And she was also the first freshman to win it her first year.
Pretty solid.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. She's pretty badass. So I'm excited to watch her in the tournament as well. And I also wanted to talk about South Carolina because they're just absolutely dominant. And it's crazy to me that they're not ranked higher just based off of what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Pull that bracket back up.
I feel like
they're
South
1
Carolina
seed now, but
yeah, South Carolina got a ton of hype last year, and like you actually heard about them a lot.
They won.
I'm wondering
they won
if
the tournament last year.
Yeah, well, that'll do it.
So
I'm
guess
just
that'll give
wondering
them
if but like even throughout the season, I like heard news about South Carolina, and this year I haven't heard anything.
I'm pretty sure they
about
were
them.
undefeated last year. Yeah.
Yeah, they were cracked.
They were cracked last year.
Yeah.
And just
but
their depth
still,
and their dominance.
What I'm saying is that I haven't heard anything about them this year.
I think it's because you have players like Juju Watkins and Paige Bueckers like doing insane things. Like there isn't like a single player that I've seen at least on South Carolina's team that is like really hitting the news big like these other people are. And I think that's why it feels like the news stories are following like single players more so than full teams from what I've seen. But I don't know, maybe that's just me. But I'm super excited to watch South Carolina. They won the SEC tournament, of course. They beat Texas 64-45, which is crazy because Texas is still a 1 seed. So South Carolina and Texas, SEC, shown up and shown out with 2 1 seeds. And yeah, we're still missing the last section of the bracket.
We can update as the show goes along if we get there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was the big stuff I wanted to talk about with the conference championships. As far as what we can see so far with the bracket for the women, I'm excited to see that Vandy also made it. They play Oregon. Of course, SEC has 2 of the 1 seeds. That's really awesome. Go us. Hopefully we've got one more thing to talk about, and then hopefully the last section of the bracket has been announced. But if not, we'll just update on social media. So our last segment, we've got one little spicy snack for you. So these are hot takes. These are just our opinions. They mean literally nothing, but they're things that we want to talk about. So this one's Josh's, so I'm going to let him take it away.
Yeah, I've decided that I think that college basketball is the hardest national championship to win. And my reasoning for that is because you have to win 6 games in a row you're playing top 64 teams in the country.
Yeah. Back to back too. Like you don't get much rest.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's kind of crazy. So when you think about it, it's insane when you actually do win a national championship. And it makes sense that you get hyped for like, hey, they made it to the Elite 8 last year. Or, hey, they made it to the Final 4. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You kind of have this like all or nothing mentality when you think about national championships aside. But it is kind of a crazy thing to try and make it through all of March Madness, especially like we've talked about with basketball. It's all in just who's hot that day. Like you might have a guy that is just on fire and hitting all of his threes, shooting like 85% from the 3, and they win because their offense is just too good that day.
Yeah.
Then the next day they might get blown out by 20. Who knows? You know?
Who
Like,
knows?
yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get where you're going. I get where you're coming from. It is a lot, like, all at once. It's a lot, like, faster paced how the tournaments go. That being said, though, like, with the football, I feel like a football game is harder. It's just a lot more running, first of all. Obviously the field is way bigger. So I don't know. It's hard to compare these things, like, straight up because they're so different.
Yeah. Well, and I think football will close the field this year, moving forward, because they are doing a bracket more so than they did in years past.
Yeah.
But I think the difference there is that you play less games. So, before this year, you have your regular season, and then you go and you play like conference championship game, and then you roll into the playoffs, which was 4 teams up until this past year. So it's not nearly as many games that you're trying to play. Now, also, given you're not like experiencing a car crash every single snap for like your offensive linemen and basketball and other things. But I don't know. I still think that trying to play 6 games against completely different offenses, defenses, back to back to back.
The prep for the games alone.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, I'm assuming it's like it's a different strategy for each game, each team that you're playing.
Yeah, like you might have one team that plays really hard defense, like Tennessee, but then you might play very next game Alabama, who's on the men's side, top scoring offense in the country. So you got to play 2 completely different games, and they might be back-to-back days if that's how it plays out. So in that case, it's like, what do you do? Whereas with football, you play one game one weekend, and then you got a whole week to prepare for the next game.
A whole week to prep and plan and recover. Yeah.
But at the same time, your opponent has a whole week to prepare.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just flip a coin on what you think is harder, but I think having to go into a game and understand what their offense looks like and how they play with very limited time on doing that,
Crazy.
I mean, I would assume that like Rick Barnes for Tennessee right now is looking at everybody would be potential that we'll play against.
True.
Yeah. Splitting it up the film. Hey, everybody go watch these specific things, and then they'll go from there. But
I don't know, man. That's a hot take. I'd be interested to because obviously we're coming from the world of swimming, so I played basketball, but I'd be interested to talk to players who have played both basketball and football and like get their take on that. What do they think? Or is it just so different that you can't really even compare them?
No, I mean, like LeBron played tight end in high school before he went to the NBA.
I have to get LeBron on the podcast.
Yeah, I'll call him up really quick.
Yeah.
I mean, we already talked about he's sitting on the couch right now recovering, so he's not busy.
He doesn't have much to do. No. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I'm interested to see what people think about that. What are other people's takes on that? That's about all we got for you guys today. The rest of the bracket still isn't out, so.
I've got a little bit of it on my screens.
So, why is yours so far ahead of mine?
I don't know. USC is a 1 seed.
Okay. Ooh, Iowa's a 6 seed. I have that for some reason.
So I would bet UConn. Yep, there it is. UConn is the 2 seed.
UConn's a 2 seed. Interesting. On okay, I see. USC is the 1 seed. Okay, so that's Juju Watkins is a 1 seed. UConn is a 2 seed. I had the total, the actual rankings pulled up too, but I lost it. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So USC and UCLA both 1 seeds. Then we got Texas and South Carolina over here. Wait, where's UConn? Oh, I see. It's down at the bottom. Okay, UConn's a 2 seed. Okay, sweet. Well, we gotta get our brackets filled out. All right, let's go do it.
Let's do it.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.
Peace.